This will be very offensive for a lot of people. It is a huge thing in the internet marketing world to be big on persuasion. And I would argue it's because a lot of people don't have any results to show for their
Today's guest has helped two of the most recognized personal brands in business.
They did not blow up because of how the videos were packaged or the captions, to your point. Not the hooks, not the thumbnails, not the titles, none of that. It was their every little graphic that your editor is adding to your shorts to keep people engaged, that's stupid. Why the are you making content? Why do you need a personal brand? Because I would argue there's actually a huge majority of people that are making content online right now that probably don't need to. These are all tactics that are working today, but that's not what's going to get you to blow up. Here's another really good frame. I'm going to get really wild with you here.
Today's guest has helped two of the most recognized personal brands in business. As director of brand for Alex and Layla Hormozi, he led the media team that scaled their following from 1.2 to 11.5 million, generating over 3 billion impressions in 2024 alone and driving 300K plus monthly visits to their site. Before that, he was Gary Vee's videographer and TikTok lead, growing his accounts from 300K to 3.5 million and making sure that he is executing rapid audience-first content strategies. Now he runs his own brand strategy firm, helping founders turn attention into influence and revenue at scale. He's one of the bestest minds in content and brand building. Caleb, welcome to the Masters of Lead Generation podcast.
Thank you for the kind words, Alicia. I appreciate it. I hope that I can deliver some semblance of value based on the crazy expectations that you just set.
Excellent. Well, I'll be the judge of that and let the interrogation begin. First of all, done. You've gone out on your own. I noticed that on the interwebs. What's up with that? What's your mission and where do you want to get to? And how did you make the decision to go out on your own?
Yeah, I think anybody who is more on the behind the scenes side of things, listening or watching this will relate. There comes a point where you hit this moment in your career where you start debating timing. You know, a lot of these individuals do have ambitions of going out and doing their own thing. I'm not saying all, but a big portion. And kind of the joke for all of us behind the scenes is like, you don't want to leave too early to when like you don't want to leave and then the biggest thing of all time at the place you were working happens and it's like, oh, you missed out on that. But you also don't want to stay too long to the point where it's like all of a sudden maybe there isn't as much growth or anything like that. So there's a lot of different factors like that. For me personally, it was a combination of a little bit of that, but mainly I had been ignoring so many crazy opportunities that were coming through in my DMs. I tend to be a character who tries to apply. I don't do the best job always, but I try to be very focused on whatever the task at hand, whatever the project, whatever the client or job is at the time. And I've had times, you know, when I've worked in-house where I had to take side work in order to be able to pay the bills and shit. But other than absolute necessity, I really I've done my best throughout my career to focus on the job at hand. And so I had all these characters in my DMs wanting to work with me, even just for like one consulting call a month kind of thing. And I said no to everything. And I think that brought a lot of great results. You know, you mentioned some really good growth. And I think that's off the back of having a lot of focus. But I started getting to a point where I was like, you know, there's these crazy characters that want to work with me. Am I going to be 85 years old, Lord willing, if I even make it to that point? Like, am I going to regret not trying this out and seeing if I got what it takes to build my own thing and service multiple clients at the same time? And it just got to a point where I was like, yeah, I really want to mitigate that potential regret. That's something that Gary talks about a lot in his content, is making decisions on avoiding regret. And I just love that so much. And I took that real hardcore to heart. And I try to make a lot of my decisions on that. So it was really taking a chance on me and seeing if I have what it takes. And it's crazy. We're 7 months in and I couldn't be more grateful. Like, it's the greatest thing ever. Where we're wanting to go, we got, you know, number goals and stuff like that. I don't like talking about that kind of stuff. I think there's enough people talking about the numbers they're trying to hit and all that shit. I don't want to add to that noise. But I think for us, the thing I'm excited about is getting to partner with people and brands that are doing good in the world and amplifying those heavier. That's really our mission, is like, I want to be able to look back at all of the different brands that we've serviced with Ralston and be proud that we made each one of them more famous than they were before we started working with them.
That's awesome. What's been your biggest lesson or biggest surprise so far being a business owner for the last 7 months?
I don't know if it's a surprise, and I'll give the caveat. I have an asshole answer because I've worked for high-level entrepreneurs really closely, so I've seen a lot of I've seen almost everything that could happen, right? I'd say probably the ups and downs of it. One day you feel like you're king of the hill, and then the next day you feel like you are the ant at the bottom of the hill. That is in light of this going really well. So I can't even imagine what it's like for first year entrepreneurs when it's not going really smooth. I have a very privileged place in the way that my business is going. I don't like to talk about it, but we will hit numbers that I never thought I would ever make in my entire fucking life in year one. It's absurd. And so I think actually, Alicia, I'm going to give you a really shitty answer. The biggest surprise has been how smooth it's been. Not easy, but smooth it's been. And I think that the reason why is because, and I get a lot of questions actually around this. I love this question. It's triggering something in me. I get questions from people asking how they can land the kind of clients that we land now, or back when I worked in-house, how do you work with people of that caliber? And my answer always is the same. You have to work for somebody of that caliber first. The problem is a lot of people jump to agency first. And they cap. Some get lucky and they get big clients. And then they get to leverage those big clients. And that builds out a thing. But 99% of them always stay with the mid-tier clients that'll never blow up. I went the opposite route. I went in-house and have the opportunity of having two amazing individuals that I have had in my resume. And so there are other people that admire those two individuals and want to be like them, and they know that there's a common denominator. If I wouldn't have done that and didn't have the career I've had, aka the foundation going into building this agency firm that I'm building, it would not happen this way. And so I think the unlock is it was 16 years of eating complete and utter shit that allowed me to be in a position where on year 17, I'm still eating shit for sure, but the shit doesn't smell as bad.
Delicious. And I think people forget that, right? Where it's these overnight successes. And it's no, you put in the hard work, and then whales want to mate with whales. And that's what I work with my clients on, because we do funnels and stuff, right? And positioning and messaging. If you come across as low value and you don't have the narrative around you where someone is going to put your value higher than your price, and you can basically either be an authority or a commodity in business, and that's it. You've already done your hard work to build a lot of those ingredients that business owners struggle to build for decades because they never think about it, right? And I come from a couple of businesses, not as big as the ones that you come from, and someone said something a little bit gross one time, but it was I just really like your pedigree. I want to work with you. And I was that's kind of a weird way because I'm not a golden retriever, but I understand what you're saying. That's the background, right? And you've done your dues, and people are going to know you have a proven, repeatable system.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I agree.
All right. So here's something that I've noticed. A lot of business owners try to copy the Hormozi content, right? And they obviously just copy what he does and not how you guys thought about it. And I think that they also forget that there is levels to the game, to personal brands, right? You don't just go and try and execute what Hormozi is doing with 80K, 100K, 150K of overhead. And it's not about having the TikTok captions. That's not the essence of what you guys are doing that everyone was copying at some point. But what do you think are the different levels to the game? Because you've grown the Hormozi brands, you've grown the Gary Vee brands. So if you had to rank the levels and what are the most important things, what would you say?
I think that there are 3 levers that you can pull to stand out as a personal brand. And the biggest personal brands in almost every space in the education world don't blow up because of what you just described. They blow up because of their view on the world. And so I think there's 3 levers in order of effectiveness. Number 1 is a contrarian view. And everybody talks about this, but I'm going to give you a far more practical version of this. What is your top 0.1%, not 1%, top 0.1% view of the world or your niche/industry that you believe to your core that others do not? I could give you fucking millions of examples right now of characters in the education space that blew up. And I will show you, it's not how they package. That's a helpful thing. It's not their editing style. It's not even how they communicate. It's that they have a fundamentally different view of how their industry should be versus how it is right now. Gary is a great example. He entered the scene, and this was a time, and for 99% of people listening, they were like, oh my God, either was not even alive when this was a thing, or I barely remember this. It used to be that all these companies were spending their money on TVC ads, on programmatic ads, on fucking billboards, on mailers, on all these old school marketing tactics. Like the fucking banner at the top of a website that everybody that's a millennial and younger ignores, like inherently. And he came onto the scene, he's like, hey guys, there's this like crazy thing, social media. You should really consider spending your money on it. And just attacked the traditional marketing world and was like, this is fucking bullshit that you're spending money this way. You all are going to allocate more money to social over TV in years. Why not do it now? That was like his big, wildly radical message. I remember because I actually read his book when it came out. So I was watching Gary in high school, when I was in high school. And like, I remember the first big boy job I had. I went to the director of marketing at that company. It was a software company. And I was like, hey, we don't really do anything on social. There's this guy, Gary Vaynerchuk. He has this book, Crush It. Have you heard of it? Like, I think we should consider doing this. And he was like, oh, the social media thing's a fad. If you have a wildly contrarian take, you will stand out in your market if you have good reason for the take, obviously. Like, don't just have a controversial take for controversy's sake. But like, for me, like, I was looking at it like, why the fuck is our content doing literally 1,000 times better than I expected it to right away? I thought in the first year, I told Trevor, my content director, I was like, if we could get to 5,000 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the year, I'd be like, I would lose my mind. We have over 32,000 already, and we've only been doing this for 4.5 months. Fucking nuts. Makes no sense. And so I was thinking, like, I looked at our packaging, and we actually ignore the best practices of YouTube packaging. I look at our editing, and we've actually decided to keep our editing very minimal and not have like a bunch of crazy effects. So I'm like, it's not those things. And I was like, I'm ugly as fuck, so it's definitely has nothing to do with me. What is it? I have a wildly different take on how to build a brand and organic content strategy to amplify that brand than 99.9% of my counterparts. And I think that's why it's resonating, right? Like Cody Sanchez is another great example. She blew up very quickly online. This was at a time where everybody was talking about the only way to get rich and be wealthy was to be a founder of a tech startup. You need the next Facebook, the next Uber of blank, the next Airbnb of blank. And that's what everybody was preaching. And then she comes onto the scene and she's like, actually, you can get rich owning a laundromat. You can have a plumbing company and be a millionaire. And like brought this whole idea of like boring business is a way to get wealthy onto the scene. And that's why she blew up so quick. It wasn't because of her thumbnails, the way she was doing the videos. Those were supplemental. They're key. Just like if you're training and lifting and you have a good diet, you want to eat your food, but then you need protein shakes, you need vitamins, but they're supplemental. The thing that's actually going to make the biggest gains is eating that steak or, if you're a vegan, whatever the fuck vegans eat to get protein. That, right? That's what gets it. So, number 1 lever is your contrarian take. Number 2, I believe, is your delivery. Look at who is communicating. You might have the same views as people in your industry. You might not have a contrarian take. You got to be true to yourself. If you look at the loud people in your industry, you're like, oh, I do tend to agree with the majority of what they're saying. Cool. Could you say it in a different way? There is a rise. I'm not sure if you're, Alicia, actually, are you familiar with comfort creators? Do you know that this world? Okay. So this is an emerging, I label it as a form of communication. It's not a niche, because comfort creators live in all the niches. We've lived through an age where a massive majority, at least of my feed, has been predominantly males, but also women, yelling at me, telling me how I suck in business, how I suck in my fitness, how I suck in my personal development, all the areas where I'm awful, and very aggressively telling me. There is a massive boom, huge, called comfort creators, where they're saying very similar information, but they're communicating it in a different form of delivery. So like a great example is Sarah Snow on Instagram. I love her Instagram account. Everyone should go follow her. She's the fucking best. She gives a lot of content strategy tips. Some of them are totally new and innovative, but some of it is stuff that people have been saying for a very long time. But instead of her, like yelling into the camera, it's her talking about content strategy while she's kneading sourdough or working in the garden. And it's a cinematic experience. She talks very softly. I watch every single video at least 5 times in a row. They're amazing. That is a delivery mechanism. So like, on the contrary, if everybody's really soft and timid and boring in your industry, maybe coming in and being very demonstrative is the way to stand out. So that's number 2. Number 3 is your wrapping paper, okay? This is how you're wrapping the delivery. This is your thumbnail, your title, the format of your YouTube video, the format of the Instagram reel or the Snapchat story, right? This is how you're wrapping the information, okay? And that I would label as the 3rd most effective lever to stand out. If you just try to lean on that or just on delivery, you will grow. But the reason why you'll blow up is because you have a wildly different view than everybody else. And I know I just went on forever there, but I think it's a really important point for people.
That was awesome. What do you think used to work but doesn't work anymore when it comes to content?
I think people misinterpret, and so it's not that the principle doesn't work anymore. It's that the interpretation of this principle doesn't work anymore. Gary Vee's document, don't create is the greatest principle, in my opinion, for anybody who's running a business wanting to make content. AKA busy as fuck, don't have time to make content. The problem is everyone interpreted that because that's how Gary rolls, is having a videographer with you 24/7. But 99.9, I'm going to get very real. 100% of you listening and watching are not as interesting or charismatic as Gary. I promise you. I traveled with the man for 2 years straight. That dude speaks in sound bites. That's how he thinks. Like, he is a different level of human. And so the majority of us, myself included, it would not work if I had Trevor, my content director, follow me around and film me all day. I'm on fucking meetings the majority of the day or doing deep work. I'm coming up with a brand new strategy for a client. Like, there's nothing exciting going on there. So what people misunderstood is that they need to be filming every little thing. But actually, a really great interpretation of document, don't create is just talk about the shit you're doing. So if you're going to sit down and do a direct-to-camera video and you're like, what the fuck do I talk about? Look at last week's calendar. What happened? I guarantee there was one moment where it was a really insightful moment with a client, with somebody on your team. You had to have a hard conversation, or you unlocked, for you figured out a whole new funnel system for one of your clients, and it was fucking incredible. And like, you were able to do it, instead it normally takes you fucking 21 days to do, and somehow you did this in 7 days. Well, that's the video. I don't know much about funnels, so I just said a bunch of ignorant shit there.
That was good, on point.
Yeah, just nailed it. But that's what you want to talk about. So that's what documenting is just documenting the experiences that you're having, and you can do that in whatever format you want. So the old 2016 YouTube vlog doesn't work anymore. That's another one. Is like, in addition to what I just said, thinking that you can upload a video that covers 7 different topics and have it be successful on YouTube, very small chance, right? So the best version of a vlog in 2025 and going into 2026 is pick one topic, one theme that you hit on throughout the vlog. You might be going throughout your day in different scenarios, but it's all laddering back to one central theme. Very Casey Neistat-esque kind of vlog. Those are 2 things.
And for that, what you touch on there is, and this I see this in all marketing, right? There's strategies and there's tactics. And this is kind of what I was saying before with the Hormozi stuff. Everybody's copying the tactics. So they haven't downloaded the OS of the strategy. So what happens is things shift, society changes, cultural changes, trends change. And because they haven't downloaded that strategy, the tactic stops working and everything stops working because they don't actually know how to operate. Is there anything that you think business owners need to understand about core strategy to make sure that no matter how content platforms change, we're ready for it?
That contrarian take. They did not blow up because of how the videos were packaged or the captions, to your point. Not the hooks, not the thumbnails, not the titles, none of that. It was their contrarian takes. Completely different views on how, I mean, think about it. The majority of the direct response world, all they do is sell fucking courses. And this character comes on the scene and releases 2 courses for free on his website. Wildly different way of operating than everybody else in the space. If you understand that, it doesn't matter what space you're in or what tactics you're using. Sure, use the tactics of today, right? I don't like talking about those because they'll fucking be different tomorrow. But like, yes, make sure that your YouTube video has a really strong opening 15 seconds. Everyone's been talking about 30 seconds. Make it fucking 15. Include a roadmap so people understand what they're going to get throughout the video. And they know that when they're only 1/3 of the way through, they know that there's still good, valuable information 2/3 and then at the end of the video. So they continue watching, right? Like, okay, we know that we want to make sure that the first frame of our short is very engaging. Ideally, there's a visual hook if you can. Okay, cool. These are all tactics that are working today. But that's not what's going to get you to blow up. Here's another really good frame. I'm going to get really wild with you here. And I'm going to generalize some things. The best way to know... So everyone thinks that blowing up is just impressions and views. And that's great for those of you listening and watching that are just trying to get famous. But if you're trying to build your business, that's fucking stupid. That is such a waste of your time. You want to track around conversions and brand strength, okay? So there's a video out there that pairs 2 different creators against each other, and it says, who's going to hit $1 billion first? And, you know, I'll let you all go do your Googling or whatever. You'll figure it out. The comments are laughable. There's one creator being mentioned in the comments of who's going to hit $1 billion, and nobody mentions the other creator. And the reason why is because one creator optimized around views and impressions and one optimized around conversions and brand strength. So for everybody listening or watching, stop optimizing around views and impressions and start optimizing around real fucking business results. Because that's what we're trying to build here.
And that's a thing that people get wrong, I see on content, is optimizing for the ego, right? But not for the money. So most people struggle to even get attention online. And if they are getting attention, they don't know how to convert that attention into revenue or into money. And I think a lot of the time when I work with business owners, they can have very first order thinking. I want results now, I need money now, they're very desperate. But my understanding of content is that it's more of a long-term game. And I think of it as you're planting seeds for later. You're building an asset for leverage. And so when you're working with these brands, like how, or maybe it's like a brand that wants to get into content, how should they even be thinking about it as part of their business strategy? Should they be like, what's my ROI? How many leads, how many sales did we make? Or is there a time where you just have to eat shit, build your brand until the fruits of your labor will actually pay off?
You need to figure out what you're bringing to the market that is different than everybody else first. That's the number one thing. And I'm going to keep hammering it. And here's why. I realized the other day, like, I looked at our clients, and we have some clients that are getting fucking ridiculous results, and we have some clients that are just getting good results. And I was like, why are the ones that are getting good results, why are they only getting good and not fantastic? And I realized because we had not crystallized and gotten ultra clear on what is it that they're providing that isn't already out there. The majority of you listening or watching are going into the marketplace and doing the exact same shit that everybody else is doing. I got no fucking reason to pay attention to you. I like how this other person's doing it better. They've been doing it longer. I trust them more. Like, Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you got to figure that out. So that is the number one thing. Before you decide on a content strategy, figure this out. This will take that year of fucking wasting your time posting reels on Instagram and getting 5 views on all of them. Like, this will skip that. Because once you figure this out, then what you realize is, okay, cool. My mission is to educate people on this. And what is education? Literally, the only way you make educational content is it's outcome based, not intent based. Okay? We're getting a little heady here, but everyone thinks that educational content is intention based, meaning I'm saying I'm making educational content, so it is. But educational content is actually determined by the viewer. If the viewer changes what they do, then it was educational. If they do not change what they would do, then it was just entertainment, no matter how educational you thought it was. And if we agree on that, then all you need to do, every decision you make in your videos needs to ladder up to, does this make it easier for the audience to change what they do afterwards, or harder? If easier, yes. If harder, no. Every little graphic that your editor is adding to your shorts to keep people engaged, that's fucking stupid. That's not the point of educational content. 99% of the time, educators have editors that are throwing all kinds of crazy shit. It's not helping people change their actions. It's actually making it harder for them to understand what the fuck you're saying. And if you understand this, then you realize that if I get just a few people to change their actions after consuming my content, they're going to trust me more, which means they're more likely to transact on my offer. Trust is the currency that precedes the transaction. You are trying to change their behavior to build trust and then convert them off of that trust. That's it. And so I used to be somebody who would say, like, you know, you're not going to get any results for a year. I think the majority of you listening, yes, you're not going to get any results for a year. But, like, could you? Absolutely. I've never been putting out, like, this is the first time in my entire life that I've been putting out my own content. I used to put out content where I would interview people, but never me solo. And we've gotten insane traction on it because I had so much clarity on the problems we were solving for people. And then Trevor and I sit down for every video and we just say, how do we make it easier for them to change what they did coming into this and do something completely different on the other end? And if it serves that, we do it. If it doesn't, we leave it out. So that's what you need to do. That's what anybody who's wanting to get into content, or anybody who's making content right now and is like, why the fuck am I doing this? It's not working.
So I work in performance marketing, so ads and funnels, etc. And I find that a lot of clients are trying to show that they're better, not different. And it's funny because obviously there's so many parallels between organic and paid, because it all just goes back to persuasion and attention. And how can you talk to a human and how can you persuade them to do something? But kind of to your point, we won't even take on clients unless they have certain ingredients, because I know without these ingredients, like, it just won't fucking work, right? So it's like, for me, it's like, you got to have a clear target market who ideally already know what their pain is, whatever. It might be a bit different on content, but for paid, that's easier. You've got to, even if you don't have it, I've got a sense that you could have it, like strong messaging and differentiation. And ideally, like this proven, repeatable system that I can like help you to go, this is why it's going to be different this time. This is why it's different this time, because everyone's all skeptical and burnt by everything. And then a shitload of social proof, and for us on performance, a very strong offer. Like, what is your offer? What's the next step? And without that, I just don't find that marketing in general works. And I think this idea of, like, because you mentioned it a few times, right? Being different. Our brains are wired to seek out new and different. It's why we ignore shit that looks like ads when we're scrolling through stuff. It's why native stuff from organic works when we move it to ads. Yeah. Because you got to be different.
Yeah. It's so interesting. You said one word that I just, like, my brain latched onto, which is persuasion. And there's so many people that talk about the secrets of persuasion online. And I find that the people that are really obsessed with persuasion, why are you so obsessed with having to persuade people? Like, I will say, it is a huge thing. This will be very offensive for a lot of people. It is a huge thing in the internet marketing world to be big on persuasion. And I would argue it's because a lot of people don't have any fucking results to show for their shit. So they have to have some sort of persuasion tactic, because just showing the results won't be good enough. And I think that the people that rely on that, and this is a very bold claim and statement. My puppy's right here joining. Hello, buddy. Very bold statement, loosely held. I don't know. I have a feeling that the way that marketing, the world, society is going with AI and everything, I don't think persuasion's going to work anymore. I think we're all, to your point of what you said, I couldn't agree with it more, Alicia. People are so fucking burnt and so skeptical. And the more you try to persuade them, the more they're like, I don't know. I'm finding for me, like, I'd rather have the results that I provide and have delivered on be my persuasion method. And everything else feels, and this is just for me, feels icky. It feels icky. And any client that I've had to convince is always the shittiest client. Right? Like, I would rather use organic content, and then the ones that perform well, boost them and paid, like you said. I agree with that fully. That's my favorite thing. It's the best marriage. Let that be your persuasive element. And if it's not persuasive enough, get better results.
I'll build on that. I'll add something, not exactly agreeing with you, but here's what I think about. Because I'm like direct response. Like, that is my blood type.
Totally.
When my partner and I met, we would watch infomercials, drink red wine, break down the fucking offers, Dan Kennedy stuff, right? So my core operating around persuasion is that there's persuasion and there's manipulation. And I think of it as like the good witch and the bad witch out of The Wizard of Oz. Manipulation is you're trying to convince someone to do something to, like, for you, right? Like, you, like, and this is like the scammy course people. Like, I'm trying to manipulate you to buy my shit by showing you these, like, what you might think is a white hat persuasion technique, but I'm trying to trick you, basically. And persuasion means you're trying to help them. And I do think that you have to persuade people, but I'll go somewhere with this, because otherwise they don't take fucking action. All right? And then it's like, if you genuinely believe in what you sell and you genuinely think you can help somebody, I think you have like an ethical obligation to shake them out of that inertia and persuade them to work with you. But to your point, there's like the old school way of persuasion is dead. Like that old school way of like how we used to all market 1 to 5 years ago in the golden days, maybe 10 years ago, is dead. And I think that going back to like there's strategies and there's tactics, it's like, cool, well, how do you be different? What are we seeing a little bit changing now? People aren't being as polished in their marketing. They're doing more of these Lurum video breakdowns. They're being more real, niching down, being more for people. So I just think, I don't know, I think you still need to persuade people, because otherwise they don't fucking do anything and then they never change the problem in their life. But I think to your point, it's like that strategy and tactic of persuading them has changed.
I think for me, I love that. I think for me, it's where the persuasion takes place. For me, I'm persuading them after they've already signed on with me. I'm persuading them on taking action, to your point. I don't, and this is just, I'm not saying that people should do this. I think everyone should ignore everything I say. But I'm not in the business of trying to persuade anybody to work with me. I think for me, it just has, I've seen it lead to really bad outcomes. And so I try to avoid, I let my content do that. And if they're not convinced, then like,
no.
let's
you
not
mean
work
if they're
together.
Not persuaded, because that's the thing, your content is just a different like vehicle of persuading them, right? But I know what you mean. It's like, if I ever have to try and convince somebody, that's not a good fit. Like, my marketing should have already sold you. So I either, like, the sales starts in the marketing. So if you're not convinced that I'm the right fit for you by the time we talk, I'm not going to try and change your mind. Obviously, something hasn't landed in my marketing, or you're not a good fit, because everybody who comes to me fucking wants to work with me. So if you don't, and I think, I'm in a similar position to you where I don't, like, people just, like, I do content, they know what I'm about, and that's the difference, right? Like, I've already built that, I don't know, like, I'm like the best at what I do. Do you want to work with me? Yes or no? And I think that's the difference, maybe.
I know what it is. It's semantics. I persuade, but I don't use persuasion tactics.
Yeah, great.
I'm persuading without realizing it by making the content that is persuasive, I guess. Yes. But I think where I feel icky is here's 10 ways to, use persuasive marketing. That's what I think I feel icky about. You helped me unpack that. It's the, how do I synthetically create trust? That's what I hate. That's my least favorite part of the internet marketing world. I like truly, and back to your point earlier about how long it takes, like I believe that the majority of the audience I'm building, it's going to take me a couple years to really truly earn their trust, and I think I give it all away, right? Like I think there's very few people in my space right now that are giving more shit out for free. But like, even with that, I think I have to earn their trust over time. I hear what you're saying. I think you're right. I do persuade, just never intentionally.
And that's why it works. Do you know what I mean?
Makes sense. Like that totally makes sense.
And that trust thing. So what do you think is the equation or the recipe of trust? Because that's how all of this works, right? Is you're just trying to build trust at scale, and then what happens after trust is money. But most people skip that step. They make content and they try and extract money from it. So do you think it's just what you were saying earlier with the 1% view and the delivery and the wrapping paper?
Do you have a push to start car?
I don't have a car, man. I live in Bali.
Oh, wild. Okay. My truck is a push to start truck, right?
Okay.
Growing up, I had a turnkey vehicle. And I remember the first time I had the push to start, I was like, whoa, this feels really crazy. Like, I don't know how this operates. I've never seen it deliver for me before. First time I did it, it started. Cool. Every morning that I start my truck, it delivers. I get the outcome. By taking action, I get the outcome I desire. And by that happening repetitively, my truck has built a brand of trust. I trust that when I hit that little push to start, it's going to start up, right? Now, if all of a sudden I go out to my truck 4 days in a row and I push the same button and it does not start, am I going to have as much trust in it? No. If you, in your content, your educational content, tell people what to do to get the outcome they desire, and they do it, and they get that outcome consistently, they will trust you more. You tell them what to do, they do it, they get their outcome, trust. Bingo. Which is why you, in educational content, every decision goes through the filter of, does this make it easier for them to take action or harder? Because if it makes it easier, the likelihood that they take action goes up, which means the likelihood they get the outcome they desire goes up, which means the likelihood that they trust me more goes up. That's it. Very simple. Like, there's tons of, copywriting techniques on building trust. I know all of those things work. I just fucking hate them. Because I don't think that they work long term. I think they work short term. And this is where, and I love the way that you're addressing this. Like, I define direct response as feeding ourselves today, but burning our ability to feed ourselves tomorrow. Slowly over time, you're fatiguing your audience. Brand does not feed you today and allows you to feed yourself forever. The best marriage is direct response and brand together, right? It's like, let's feed ourselves now, but let's make sure that we provide the ability to do this again in the future, right? The majority of like a lot of direct response creators, their businesses, just to let you know, are not as big as they say. And they're getting smaller every year. And why do you think the majority of the direct response world has come into personal brand? Because they realize that it worked short term, but it doesn't work long term alone, in one man's opinion. So that's... Go ahead.
No, I was going to say you're right. You're cooking. Finish your thought. I should not have interrupted.
No, you're good. You're good. No, that was the thought.
That is a good thought, and I fucking love it because it's so true. And I love direct response, but it's very extract money now. So do you know what I call it for my clients? Do you know what one of my little systems is? Wait, prepare yourself. Brand response. a fucking
nice.
best of both worlds.
That's cool. That's cool.
And you have them both together because you're building that trust long term.
Yep.
And then, but you're also like having a revenue first approach, right? Like you shouldn't be doing something unless it doesn't have to be today, but in 10 years it might pay off, and we're thinking about it in that way and just building trust in the market.
Yeah.
What I like about you, Caleb, is I think, and this is what I think maybe as an outsider, why your stuff is like really resonating. But as a business owner, you say what I feel is correct, right? And often like that's what works. It's like you say you're saying different shit to everybody else. And I've had so many consulting calls from people who have come from the Hormozi team, the Gary Vee team, the Mr. Beast team, and the shit they tell me to do is like, bro, I'm not doing that. Like whatever you just said, like I'm not doing that. That doesn't feel right. And I love how you talk about like foregoing all of that, like dopamine inducing, being fucking psycho, and being maybe like a bit more like adult or like smart about it, for lack of a better term, authentic. And on Jay's podcast, because I messaged you after I watched that, one of the things that I really like that you said is looking outside of your industry. Like, and that's what we do as well. So when we bring on a client, they're in the property investment niche. I mean, I'll look at the other property investors, but then I'll go and look at all these fucking other wild niches and try and build them all in to build a very strong competitive moat. I know you mentioned a couple like gaming, but I wonder if there's any cultures or subcultures, or if you want to expand on this thought, like, or how you do it a bit more, that you think people are sleeping on when it comes to looking outside of your niche for inspiration.
I love how comfort creators within different niches are packaging right now. There's like a really big thing going around, like a packaging style in the business creator space. Excuse me. That is like, if you're lazy but ambitious, watch this. If you're lazy but blank, like all these different things. That came from a comfort creator. I also really like tech review channels. I think they do an amazing job at understanding packaging that catches attention. And what you're really looking for is like, I know you've had this, I have this all the time, mostly with like Harley Davidson videos, where you're like scrolling through YouTube and you're like, you go to click on something, you're like, no, I have to fucking watch it. Because the packaging was just like, it's like, oh, there's this open loop in my head now that I have to close. Like, you know, how did you find the world's oldest Harley, you know, or whatever. And so I think like tech review channels do a good job of that. I think, like you mentioned, I talk a lot about like video gamers. I think they do a great job. Personal finance, like just any niche you can think of that isn't yours. Look at that. And I think it's to the point you made earlier. I'm going to try and say this in a way that doesn't sound self-aggrandizing, because I do not mean it that way. But a lot of people in the content space, I know how I don't make it douchey. I give credit to Gary because he gave me this. Gary told me when I went from Vayner to Constellation Brands, because that's an era of my career that rarely gets talked about, but I worked at a company called Constellation Brands where I was a part of a team where we were building out the direct-to-consumer division of a company that owns a fuckload of liquor, wine, and beer companies in the 2020 pandemic. But regardless, that's a crazy story for another day. When I moved on, he told me, he was like, the best piece of advice if you ever go on to build your own team is don't build the team and process around what was built here. For me, I'm a weird, crazy character. I'm unique. Reverse engineer the needs, preferences, strengths, and weaknesses of the brand you're building the team around and have that be your strategy. And it was such a... He said it pretty casually, like as the meeting was ending. And I remember just being like, oh my God, that is huge. And nobody does this. What I'm describing is the majority of, I hate this word so fucking much, so it shouldn't even come out of my mouth. The majority of content gurus, the gurus, they only know one thing. Mm-hmm. It worked for them or one client they had, and so they just preach it as doctrine, and everybody should do it this way. But the reality is like really good dietitians also know that like the best version of a diet is we do your blood work and find out what you're allergic to. Like, what are you eating that's causing inflammation, that's causing you to not sleep at night and not recover from your workouts? It's individual. It's not like I remember when I was back in the day when I was into powerlifting, way back, low carb diet was like the thing. Everyone needs to do low carb diet. And now there's plenty of science out there that's like, that might not necessarily be the best thing. For some people it is, but for some people that is detrimental to their metabolism. There's a lot of variance. And it's the same with a content or brand strategy. And so the reason why I'm bringing this up is for everybody listening, I'm not saying to listen to me, but be very careful about who you listen to and how they communicate. If they communicate a one-size-fits-all strategy, look into their shit a little bit more. Like, have they done this in multiple scenarios? If not, I would question the validity of what they're sharing. The majority of people have done it one way, and then that's what they preach. And it's like, that does not take into account any nuance or variability between individuals, teams, industries, etc.
In my business journey so far, I've realized there's just not one way to create a business. And that's the same thing as the content, right? And just recently I've kind of come out of a stint of like building a business I know how to build, not the business I want. And what you're saying is like very resonating with me, excuse me, with this content stuff, right? Where it's like, no, build it for what works for you, not what somebody has told you worked for them, or be discerning in taking certain bits. And that's why I think it's very important to take from a wide range of people and test it out and not be married to following somebody's exact prescription. The problem with the way that humans think is we want everything very black and white. So, you know, like usually when I would bring somebody on this podcast, a lot of the times we might walk through a framework, like step by step, this is how we do it. But I just think content and personal brand is too nuanced. It's not like a YouTube tactic where it's like, cool, I did this and I did this and I did this. You actually have to fucking use your brain and think about it a little bit, not just take action, right?
You're describing the difference, in my opinion, between a tactical framework and a principle-based framework. Principle-based frameworks will work across industries. My brand journey framework will work for anybody. It's not a tactic that is only applicable for one kind of creator, one audience size, one industry. It works for anybody. So that's what you want to look for, is principle-based teaching, not tactic-based teaching. Sure, follow the people that are giving you the tactics and stuff of like, this is going to work for the next 30 days on Instagram before everybody does it and then it no longer works. Cool. Yeah, follow those people. But don't build your strategy around that. Build your strategy around timeless principles and then execute on the tactics of today.
I totally agree. And one thing that with my content is I'm very like principles based, but it's not fucking mass market. Or I struggle. I shouldn't say that. I haven't figured out a way to package it so everybody wants to eat their broccoli and learn how to think strategically and not have mental masturbation about media buying hacks. But I know that's what you do, right? Like you teach a very principles first content, and that seems to resonate with people and it seems to work. So I need to bridge the gap. And
I also don't try to make it wide. I don't try to make it wide. I actually do the exact opposite. We try to make, there's only one video on the YouTube channel that was made to be a little bit wider. It's like 12 minutes. I think it's called, if you're struggling making content, watch this, something like that. Everything else, like designed to be super, super in-depth. We put up a 2-hour video on how to lead a media team, not how to build a media team. Not like, here's how you go from 0 to a team. It's like, if you already have a media team that you are running, watch this. How many people are going to actually watch? So few people that actually applies to, right? But I'm not the type of person that says like, let's take this super deep concept and try to make it wide. I think you need to pick which master you're going to serve, only one at a time. Every once in a while you get lucky and you hit jackpot and you get both of them. But I believe when people try to accomplish both, they accomplish neither. You know this really well. It's like the individuals who have 2 links in their Instagram bio. And what they don't realize is they didn't split the clicks from 1 link to 2. They actually caused a shitload of people to not click any link. I've done this, I've split tested this so many times. If you have 2 links in your Instagram bio, it's not that, like, if you have 1 link and you're getting 100 clicks a week, it's not that when you go to 2 links you get 50 on each or some version of that. It's that literally the amount of link clicks will go from like 100 to like 50 or 60.
I'm just thinking about my link tree in my Instagram.
Eliminate it.
No. I'm gonna fucking take it behind the shit and put it
one
in the back of its head.
Yes, 1 link. I promise you.
I haven't done much on my Instagram. Watch this space, but I'm very excited by this conversation because I'm about to introduce it as a channel, and
Sick.
This has been very helpful. And when I think about content, or when I was doing my content strategy a couple of years ago starting, I think of it as like stepping into a circle and owning that first. And so I was like very like niche, like landing pages. Like this is it. And I was getting so fucking bored of talking about landing pages. And then whenever I sort of strayed from it, I was like, dumb bitch, bring it back, and then keep focusing on landing pages. And now I'm at this crossroads where, okay, have I maxed out landing pages? Will I go with width, or am I just going to evolve my depth? But to your point and what you're saying, right, with like the lead the media team, it's about knowing your goal. And again, this is kind of just full circle to wrap everything up. It's like reverse engineer from the goal. Like it's very easy to make content that blows up. It's not very easy to make content that supports a long-term business decision and becomes a core acquisition channel that drives millions of dollars of your business, right? So I know you have to go soon. What would you like to leave everybody with? Do you have like a little rant or like a little thought that if you fuckers all knew this one thing, your content would actually be successful? For anyone listening to the podcast, Caleb pauses for dramatic effect.
Yeah. Caleb pauses so that he can not sound so stupid. I think what I would leave with, because we didn't touch on it, and I mentioned it, and I don't want to just tease it, is the brand journey framework. And everybody needs to go through this. This is how I would argue, do this before you figure out your contrarian take. Do the contrarian take right after this. But why the fuck are you making content? Why do you need a personal brand? Like what? Because I would argue there's actually a huge majority of people that are making content online right now that probably don't need to. Probably shouldn't. And it's like a waste of time. It's a weird stress thing. Like there's so many reasons to not make content. And not all of you need to do it. I think the joke, I have been thankfully in a relationship for a long time, so I haven't had to participate in the single world. But I think the joke right now among singles is like, if you find a guy who isn't on Instagram, that's so hot, right? And, that's obviously an extreme version. But I do think that a lot of people are just making content to check a box. Mm-hmm. And so figure out why you're doing this, okay? What is the outcome you desire? Once you have that, the next question to ask yourself is, in order for that outcome to happen, what would I have to be known for? The next question is, in order to be known for that thing, to get my outcome that I want, what do I need to do? We get known for the things that we do. That's how we become known for things, right? We do them. It's crazy. Then the next question, and the last one, which is number 4, and it brings us to this very moment. In order to do those things, to become known for the thing, so I get my outcome, what do I need to learn? An example I like to use is if I want to speak on stages to inspire young women to build their business. Cool, that's my desired outcome. Well, if I want to do that, what would I have to be known for or known as? Not necessarily, but it'd probably help if I was a woman who has built a successful business. And ideally, not just my own, I've helped other women build a successful business, right? That's something I would need to be known for. Well, how do I get known for that? I need to build a successful business, and I need to help other women build their successful businesses. Well, what do I need to learn in order to accomplish that? A million fucking things. To run a successful business, you need to understand HR, marketing, product, sales, recruiting, like all these different things, right? And then with all of those buckets within marketing, you could probably list 1,000 different things that they need to learn. Within sales, there's 1,000 different things, right? This gives you the roadmap to go from today to what you desire as your outcome. And it actually provides clarity on what you do. And the really cool thing is once you start the process of learning and actually taking action, you then realize your content's mission is to just accomplish question number 2, becoming known for the thing that you did. That's the season I'm in right now. I'm in the season of informing people of what I've done and what I am doing right now. Because my desired outcome is to work with whoever I want, whenever I want, or whatever I want. And in order for that to happen, I have to be known as somebody who grows a brand that lasts and converts. And I have done that in one space. And so I have to hammer home the fact that I have done that. And then I need to do it in one other industry in order to be able to accomplish my desired outcome, the way I see it. And if you attack life and content that way, I'm not a life expert, I'm not a business expert, I'm a brand and content expert. But I promise you that framework applies to everything in life. I just won't say it audaciously because that's not my lane. It works fucking well with brand and content though. And you can take that same framework, I just talked about it at a really high level. You can chunk that down massively. I want to work with so-and-so. Well, how would that happen? What would you have to be known for in order for them to want to work with you, right? And so you can take this for anything you want to accomplish. It's just reverse engineering. You've talked about it multiple times throughout here. I just wanted to make it very simple for people. And so it's just 4 questions. So for anybody listening or watching, that is what I would ask you to do. Hop off of this, take the headphones out, throw the laptop across the room, and then grab it again because you're going to need to write this out and answer these 4 questions. And it will take you a lot longer than you think. Because as soon as you sit down and you're like, what do I want to have happen? It's like, well, man, I thought I knew, but that actually seems really small. I could think bigger. And it allows you to really go through this exercise. And this gives you purpose on why you're making your content. It also helps you determine what should you make. If you want to be known as something, well, don't make content that is the opposite of that, right? If I want to be known as somebody who's trusted and I go on podcasts with people who are not trusted, that hurts my desired outcome. And so it gives you not only the framework of what to do, but it gives you a decision-making framework on what to say yes to and what to say no to.
Love it. Thank you for bringing that up. I've watched so much of your podcast now that I probably didn't hit on the core cool shit that you've got with assumed knowledge, but it's fucking awesome. It's those 4 things. And to wrap it up, my key takeaways today are how can you be different? Or how can you say the information, maybe you're not this wild fucking crazy person, but how can you present it, wrap it differently? How can you install principle-based thinking, not tactic-based thinking, into everything you do, but especially your personal brand and your content? And then as the actionable part of today with your brand journey, go and focus on those 4 key things. And it's like, if you went and did that, those core things that you spoke about today, it would be basically impossible to fail for people. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom. Where can people find you after this episode?
Oh, if you search my name on a platform, you could probably find it. Firstandlastname.com is my website.
Yeah.
We are active on YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Not really active on any of the other platforms right now. So that's probably the best chance to chat or engage in any sort of way. But no need to do that. I would just ask, if you actually listen to this point, just fucking do it. That's a year's worth of work right there. And then DM me in a year and we can figure out the next thing that you need to do.
Love it. Thanks, man.
Thank you.